The last 2 weeks have been completely heartbreaking. There's not a moment of the day that you don't think about Alice and where she is, what might have happened or why she might have gone missing. It's almost impossible to describe what that pain feels like, but we just want her to know, please Alice, if you're out there, come home. And if anyone has any information at all about her movements on that day or about her whereabouts now, I'd just really plead with them to come forward to the police and get her home, because that's where she belongs and she needs to be here with us.
Alice Gross was 14 years old from Hanwell in West London. She lived with her mother, Rosalind Hodgkiss, her father, Jose Gross, and her older sister, Nina, who was 19 and about to start at Cambridge that autumn. Alice went to Brentside High School. People who knew her described her as smart, funny, and a little quirky, a live spark of a girl. She was also quietly going through something hard. She'd recently been diagnosed with anorexia, and her family was trying to face it together. There'd been no argument, no falling out, nothing anyone could point to and say, that's when things changed. By every account, the 28th of August 2014 started like any other Thursday. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Alice left home. She told her mother she was going to meet some friends and would be back by 6 since her dad was cooking dinner. She took her phone and her rucksack. She forgot her house key on the counter, a small detail that will matter later. CCTV cameras picked her up twice that afternoon. At 2:23 p.m., a camera near the Holiday Inn at Brentford Lock caught her walking alone along the Grand Union Canal towpath, heading toward Kew. At 3:45 p.m., the same camera caught her walking back the other way toward Hanwell. Somewhere around 3 o'clock, she'd texted her father. Nothing dramatic. She'd forgotten her key and wanted to know if he'd be home by 6 to let her in. A completely unremarkable message. At 4:23 p.m., she passed under Trumpers Way Canal Bridge, still heading home. It had started to rain. That is the last confirmed sighting of Alice Gross. Her phone stayed connected to the network until just after 5 p.m. Then it went dark. No more calls, no more texts, nothing. 6 o'clock came and went. No Alice? 7 o'clock came and went. By then her parents knew something was wrong. She would have texted even if she was just running late. That night, Rosalind and Jose called the police and reported their daughter missing. What followed was massive. 600 officers from 8 different police forces, 25 square kilometers of land searched on foot, 5.5 kilometers of canal and river searched by boat and diver. It remains the biggest metropolitan police search operation since the 7/7 London bombings in 2005.
We miss you. We want to know that you're safe, and we want you to come home. We know that maybe you've been going through some difficult times, but we want you to know that we're thinking about all the happy times we've had together as a family and the lively and beautiful person that you are. Anyone that knows anything about Alice's whereabouts, we want them to understand that she's a very vulnerable young girl, and if they could please contact the police on 101 with any information they might have. That might be someone that knew that she had any kind of plan, someone that she's contacted in a chat room, for example.
2 days in, a purple rucksack was found on the towpath near the River Brent. It was Alice's. Inside were some of her belongings, including her shoes. Her phone was not there. They were reviewing hundreds of CCTV cameras, and a reward of £20,000 was being offered for anyone with information that could help find her. Using divers and sniffer dogs, the police began a mass search operation covering 9 square miles of woodland area and almost 4 miles of water. This was a massive and painstaking task, but with still no sightings or signs of Alice, they had no other options. They searched the murky waters and went through the thick woodlands with a fine-tooth comb, but the search turned up nothing. The phone data analysis revealed that when she sent the message to her father saying she was heading home, she was right by the river. Brent Detective Superintendent Mehta ordered another search of the area, believing there was more to find there. As the days continued to pass, the possibility of suicide was becoming less and less likely. Forensic scientists recognize that when a body first goes into the water, it will sink as the body begins to decompose. Bacteria will form, which creates gases in the body, forcing the body to rise back up to the surface. If she had taken her own life through drowning, she would have been discovered by now. So if she was in the water, it was possible she was being held down by something. The police continuing to review the CCTV footage. They saw a middle-aged man on a bike pedaling behind Alice over the bridge. Just a few minutes behind her, he surely would have passed her at some point. He was spotted again on another camera, crossing a busy road and cycling down. Initially, there was nothing untoward, except when the police looked deeper, they realized that the time it had taken for him to cycle from the bridge to the main road had taken almost 45 minutes. When normally it would take just a few. The man on the bike was formally identified as Anna's soul cans. The cameras they had used to track down, Alice began to paint a very sinister picture. The police saw Zolkins on CCTV, riding back to the area where Alice had last been seen. Twice in 12 hours, he returned at 7:45 and re-emerged from the area at 8:50 on the evening of the 28th. He was now wearing different clothes. He returned one final time just before 7 a.m. on the 29th. Further CCTV showed him in a shop buying some beers at around 8 p.m. on the 28th. He lived in Ealing with a partner and a young child, and commuted along this same towpath most days, which on its own meant nothing. Lots of people used that route. Then his record came back. In 2009, Zal Collins had been arrested in West London on suspicion of drugging and indecently assaulting a 14-year-old girl. He was never charged. And buried further back, in a country nobody investigating a missing London schoolgirl had thought to check, was something much worse. On the 3rd of September, a week after Alice disappeared, Arnis Zal Collins vanished too. He left his passport at home. In 1998, back in his native Latvia, Arnis Zal Collins murdered his wife. Her name was Rudite. They'd married young. According to his own confession to Latvian police, and court documents later reviewed by the BBC, Zal Collins believed his wife was seeing other people. He said she'd told him she was a lesbian and had started going out without him regularly. He was a trained welder. In the days before it happened, he built 2 weapons by hand, a steel pole and an 8-inch knife. He led her into a forest. There, he beat her with the pole and stabbed her with the knife, then buried her in a shallow grave. Afterward, by his own account, he smoked a cigarette, went home, and slept for 2 nights, before eventually reporting her missing to police, as if he hadn't been the one who put her there. A court psychologist assessed him as mentally stable and fully aware of what he'd done. He was convicted of murder and sentenced to 12 years. He served 7. In 2007, he moved to the United Kingdom. At the time, criminal records didn't travel cleanly across European borders, so none of this followed him. British police had no idea he was a convicted murderer. He simply arrived as a builder looking for work, rented a flat in Ealing, started a new relationship, had a child, and found a daily route to his job that happened to run along a quiet canal towpath in Hanwell. With Zal Collins now missing and the prime suspect, his home became the focus of the investigation. Forensic teams tore through the property. In the back garden, buried, they found a phone case, cracked, colorfully decorated. Alice's sister later identified it as belonging to Alice's iPhone, the one that had never been found. At his workplace, they found a roll of bin bags matching the type that would later be used to conceal Alice's body. And on a private estate called Heron's Court, where Zal Collins had done odd painting jobs for years, police sealed off a shed for forensic examination. The estate was just a 15-minute bike ride from where Alice's body would eventually turn up. Lab results came back with DNA matching Zal Collins, recovered from Alice's shoe and from a cigarette butt left at the scene. A buried phone case, matching bin bags, DNA in 2 places it had no business being. By late September, investigators had built almost the entire case. What they didn't have yet was Alice, or the man they were now certain had taken her. On the 30th of September, 5 weeks after she disappeared, London Fire Brigade divers found Alice's body in the River Brent.
Good morning, I am Commander Graham McNulty from the Specialist Crime and Operations Directorate in the Metropolitan Police. Last night, the 30th of September, a search was carried out at the River Brent as part of our ongoing investigation into the disappearance of Alice Gross. Following this search, we have sadly recovered a body from the water.
She had been deliberately hidden, tied in a fetal position, wrapped in bin bags, weighted down with a bicycle wheel and bricks, and covered by 6 sections of tree trunk stacked in a pyramid shape on top of her. Fire crews had to be brought in just to remove the weight covering her body. Police said great efforts had been made to conceal her. The post-mortem found no obvious external injuries. Cause of death was asphyxia, consistent, investigators said, with a larger body having lain on top of a smaller one. They believed the most likely motive was sexual, though they found no conclusive evidence of sexual assault.
A huge investigation and search commenced, and so as a consequence of that, today we can say that Ernest Salkins was responsible for the murder of Alice Gross.
Alice's parents released a statement that it was difficult to comprehend their sweet and beautiful daughter had been the victim of a terrible crime, that she'd been a quirky live spark of a girl, beautiful inside and out. 4 days later, on the 4th of October, police searching Boston Manor Park, a 20-minute walk from where Alice's body had been recovered, found a body hanging from a tree. It was Ernest Salkins. A post-mortem found his death consistent with hanging, with no evidence anyone else was involved. He is believed to have taken his own life not long after killing Alice, around the time he first vanished, a week after her disappearance. There was no arrest, no trial, no courtroom. The Crown Prosecution Service later confirmed that if he had lived, the evidence against him, the DNA, the buried phone case, the matching bin bags, was strong enough that he would have been charged with Alice's murder. The case closed the way the hardest ones sometimes do, with certainty about what happened and no one left alive to answer for it. At the inquest that followed, Salkins' former partner, Katerina Lyblova, told the court she couldn't reconcile the man she knew with what the evidence showed. She said he'd never been violent toward her and had made her breakfast the last morning she saw him. She noted Alice had resembled his ex-partner, thin, similar build. A detective told the court it may have been a completely random, opportunistic attack, a decision Salkins made the moment he crossed paths with Alice that day. The inquest also raised the question that outlasted the case itself: how a convicted murderer, later arrested over an assault on a 14-year-old girl, had lived in the UK for 7 years without a single record ever crossing the border with him. It's a gap in the system that later prompted changes to how criminal information is shared between European countries. Alice Gross left home at 1 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon to see some friends. She was 14 years old. Her family says they still want to hear her sing again.